Emerson, I appreciate your coming forward and giving your version and the narrative of what you saw. But make no mistakes about it. It cannot be cleaned up. Those wonderful people who lived in this close-knit community wanted to murder me and the Freedom Riders on that particular day. That was what was going to happen. They wanted to kill us. Madam Secretary, Charles and I were in Vietnam at the same time, even though we didn't know it. If we had come back to this close-knit community in 1963 or 1964 with the Congressional Medal of Honor around our necks, we would not have been able to sit on the front seat of a bus. We would not have been able to get served in any restaurant, albeit we had served our country in uniform as so many black men had. We had become Buffalo Soldiers. I am hoping that you and your department will consecrate this particular spot as a holy ground in terms of what happened here. This country has made tremendous progress, but one way you measure progress in a historical context is you must go back to where things were not so good and come up to where things are today, that there is a African-American family living in the White House. You must remember that just a few miles west of here, the city called Aliceville. And in the Aliceville, there was a POW camp for German fighter pilots. Those German fighter pilots in this closed-net community had more rights and privileges than the Tuskegee Airmen who protected the bombers. We cannot make history antiseptic. If we're going to truly move forward, just like we consecrate grounds of the Civil War, we have also got to consecrate the grounds that black folks fought for their rights in this country. So please, the burning of that bus was not just an incident. It was where people tried to murder us for simply exercising our rights. And Charles and I, when we were called upon, we didn't dodge the draft like some people who might be running for president. We stepped up. We wore the uniform on the battlefield. And in my case, I left blood on the battlefield. In historical context, 1994, I was one of the 3 GIs who were asked to go back to Vietnam and meet with North Vietnamese veterans. And I'm here to tell you that in 1994, I received a tremendous welcome from the North Vietnamese veteran. Long before I could meet anyone who was in that mob who would have the courage to shake my hand. When I told this story to a reporter, he said that North Vietnamese soldier who shot you because of the color of the uniform you were wearing. And the men who attacked that bus and held the door to try to keep me from getting off wanted to kill me because of the color of who I am, the color of my skin. Let's not just make this an historical incident. This is a symbol of how this country has changed. So for those of us, Freedom Riders, I don't know how many there were, who wore the uniform, who were refused service, who were told that they couldn't sit on the front seat of the bus, but yet when Uncle Sam said, I need you to go to Asia to fight for the rights of the Vietnamese and protect this country from the spread of communism, in their honor, I am hoping that this does become a consecrated historical site. Well, I've spent the last 10 years talking about reconciliation. But reconciliation on the part of those who have been the victims is one thing, but part of that reconciliation is the other people need to understand what they tried to do and appreciate how they have changed and how the country has changed. I do appreciate all of you being here, and Madam Secretary, I hope my words have not fallen on deaf ears. And yes, the young lady that for the last 10, 12 years I have called the Angel of Anniston. I have made the comparison between the German occupation of Poland, and the Germans made it quite plain to any Polish citizen, any aid, any feelings that they had toward Jews would bring about severe reprisals. And one day in 1942, in a little village town in Poland, Jews were having service in their synagogue. Young boy ran into the Catholic Church and said, "The Germans are burning the Jews." They nailed the doors of the synagogue shut. They nailed the windows shut, poured gas all around the wooden synagogue, and set it afire. Years later, when I read that story, I thought of me on that bus in Anniston, me and the other passengers on that bus in Anniston. And when we finally did get off, this little brave girl, when all of the other Christians were standing around just watching, she decided to do something. She became our angel. Janie, you are forever, to me and the other Freedom Riders, the Angel of Anniston. God bless you, and God may you live a very long life.
This is coming home for me. My house was right over there. It's one of the ones, can you hear me? It's one of the ones that disappeared when the road came through, along with the store and everything, almost everything that I would recognize. There's always that one kid, you know, a little bit shy, a little bit awkward, makes really good grades and has thick glasses, and whines a lot, not very athletic. That was me. So I've always been a little bit out of step with my compadres. And that day, I realized that I needed to do something because people were suffering. That's what sprang me into action. And that's why I did what I did. I knew it was dangerous. I mean, 12 doesn't mean an infant who doesn't know what's going on. I knew. In fact, I had worried for days in advance that the people coming down on those buses didn't know what they were getting into. They didn't know what could happen to them, and I was worried for them. Well, here we are. Here we are. And I love the fact that this spot is going to be part of the redemption story for Anniston, Alabama. And Mr. Emerson was always one of the really good guys. He knew, he had principles, and he acted on them. I've always admired that. And his wife, Faye, she did too. Thank you.